Being on the campus of Purdue Northwest, there's a ton of interesting things happening here at PNW with all the different programs going up a level a couple of years ago and having a lot of new faces in the program. And one of them in our entire athletics is the new head men's soccer coach, and that's Luke Dunn, who comes to PNW this year. Coach, how are you? And nice to meet you officially over the last couple of weeks. And how's your time been so far here?
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Thanks for having me. So far the time has been good. Very, very exciting time to be here. Things are going well on and off the field, so can't complain at all.
You inherited a pretty good team from Coach Hayes. You've added to that, obviously, with your own touch, and you've had a lot of success this year in the first year as in charge of the program. And you look at the standings in a realistic shots and not just being like the top 2 or 3, but you've still got a pretty decent chance to maybe do something that hasn't been done here yet at PNW.
Yeah. The guys have done a great job of putting themselves in a position where, this Friday when we play Parkside, if we win that game, we're in first with 1 weekend to go in the season, which is pretty exciting. And, I think a goal we all had at the start of the season, but, maybe a bit surprising that it happened so quickly, especially on my part, being the first year and getting here and so many new guys coming into the program. You never know how they're going to mesh, how everything's going to gel, how quickly they'll get on the same page because, the quality is there, but that's only a part of that puzzle. So, I think pleasantly surprised with how the season has gone. Knew we would be good, but didn't know how quickly things would really click for us, and excited to see where the team can go from here.
Let's take back a bit your timeline, soccer playing career, first time you remember playing soccer. When did you fall in love with the sport?
Late. It's a unique story compared to a lot of college athletes. I grew up in Indiana, so I was a basketball player. I think, if you're not, you get kicked out of the state.
That's right.
So I grew up the same as everyone else playing basketball, and by the time high school hit and I was still 5'2", got asked by some teammates, hey, I want to play soccer to stay in shape. And so freshman year was really the first year I was on an organized soccer team. It played a lot of sports growing up for fun, but never organized soccer. So started that and kind of quickly fell in love with it and naturally was pretty good at it, picked it up quickly. And that going along with basketball, saying, hey, probably just don't have the size to make much out of a basketball career here, and kind of quickly shifted to soccer as my focus and kind of went into high school playing that. Once I graduated high school, I went to Valparaiso University and played soccer there for 4 years, had a amazing experience, and that during that time is when I decided that I knew I wanted to stay in the game somehow, and that's where I figured out coaching is where I wanted to go with that. So helped out there a little bit once I graduated, went and got my master's degree at Trine University, helping with their men's and women's soccer team there. Then that's when I initially came back to the region and at Purdue Northwest, where I was an assistant coach with Ryan for 2 years there. Went up to Wisconsin, 5 years there at Viterbo University, and now back here. So everything's kind of come full circle. So,
which high school did you go to?
Angola High School.
Okay.
So small town Indiana high school.
Did you still play basketball in high school, or did you give that up?
No, gave that up. After freshman year of soccer, kind of decided this is what I want to do full time now. So got a really quick shift, quick shift to go from one to the other. So
when you think about getting into coaching, it's obviously something that requires a lot of patience, right? And some people who love the game don't want to get into coaching. So what do you think made the difference for you?
That's a good question. I think one of it was my coaches in college. I think, you have a lot of good coaches growing up that know a lot about the game. They were maybe good players, good coaches. Their knowledge is really good of the game, but not everyone knows how to portray that. And I think what gets missed a lot of time in coaching is the stuff outside of it, because we spend so much time with our athletes. And I think that's really where my experience made me want to be a coach, because they taught us so much outside of just the field. And, that's really what I say a lot of times. I was born in Angola but grew up in Valpo, because that's where I feel like I became from a kid to an adult, just with so much that I learned there, primarily around the soccer team, just kind of lifelong lessons that'll follow with you. So I feel like that's something that really drew me into the college game, because I think, there's nothing special about me as far as, I know all these things about the game. But I think I learned a lot there that I now implement in my coaching of connecting with people, helping them figure out, hey, why are we doing this? What's our purpose behind all of this? And kind of pull the best out of people through that rather than just saying, hey, if you do this, you'll score more goals, or if you do this, you'll make more saves type stuff.
Here for a couple of years as an assistant, and you said Viterbo, right? So was the plan always to come back either here or somewhere around here, or when you left, you think this might be gone for good?
No, well, I guess it was a little up in the air. When I left, I took my then girlfriend with me, who then eventually became my fiance, now my wife, and she is from Highland, so right here in town. So right before I was hired as an assistant, she had graduated from Purdue Northwest, so was still in the area. We met. So with all of that involved, there was always talks when we left. It was, hey, we'd like to end up somewhere back around here, moving forward. I would have liked to be closer to family. She wants to be closer to family. We've just had our first kid, so that was a big motivator in coming back to where we have some family and some ties as well. So fortunate with the timing of the job and it opening up, and then obviously being fortunate enough to get selected for that role. But there was always talks about, hey, we want to come back to, Northwest Indiana or Chicagoland or this general area to continue with life and continue with coaching.
Highland's not a bad place.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
I've lived there for 30 years, so I can tell you.
And it's warmer than Wisconsin. Which,
a little bit.
That alone is a positive for sure.
Your wife plays soccer?
No sports.
Not an athlete?
No, she was a dancer.
Okay.
So that was long before I met her. But no real athletic tour. So,
okay, but you're going to have to win that battle with son or daughter?
Daughter.
Okay.
Yep, so got to start her early.
That's right.
Got to start the training early.
There you go. When you think about this team this year, you've had a lot of team success, but also individual success. Take us through some of the guys who have obviously, we've seen a ton of them, right? Player of the week, maybe even potential player of the year if he keeps it up.
Yeah, so the one that's standing out the most right now is Ugo, our forward, and really both of our forwards. The two guys we have starting and playing up top are first and second place in goals scored in total points this year in our conference. So, Ugo's done great, but if he wasn't on the team, we'd be saying the same thing about Jacob because he's doing, better than anyone else in the conference. He just happens to have a teammate that's also doing that well. So I think we've been really fortunate with those guys. They were two transfers coming from NAI schools, and they kind of came in and hit the ground running and really took off with things. Then Eli, the goalkeeper, he's won a couple player of the weeks as well, leading the conference in save percentage, goals against average. So statistically, we're doing really, really well in the conference. And then I think probably a little bit unfairly, our defense is flying under the radar, which is not all that uncommon in sports because especially something like soccer, because as a defender, you don't accumulate a lot of stats. That's not really their job, but we've only allowed 7 goals all season. 2 goals in all of conference play. So defensively, the goalkeeper stood out because of saves, shutouts, things like that. But without the guys in front of him, that's a much different story. So I think those guys deserve a huge amount of credit that it's hard to come by statistically for them. But it doesn't go unrecognized, that's for sure.
What do you think you learned most from Coach Hayes, from coaches at Valpo, coaches in high school? What have you brought to this team this year that you think has made the biggest difference in obviously wins and losses and just play on the field as well?
I think for me, what I've learned the most as a coach and something I think I'm relatively good at is getting more out of someone than they think they can do, or kind of making them see that they're a better player than maybe they think they were or they've been told in the past. Because I think if you look at a lot of the guys, like we have a handful of transfers that if you look at how they've done previously or at their past schools, it hasn't been stellar performances, or it hasn't been, hey, they're really achieving a high level, and they've come in and done that so far. So I think that's something that I've really learned from coaches and something that I continue to value is don't worry about the past. Don't worry about what you've done. What can we do? And then as a coach, how can I help you be the best version of yourself that you can be as a player.
When you look at PNW soccer, obviously you have your opinions of where it stands in the minds of everybody else. But when you talk to recruits, when you talk to high school coaches in the area or maybe just outside the region, where do you think this program stands right now as far as people wanting to play for it? And how do you either continue that or change that into more of a positive or, like you said, keep it where it already is strong?
Yeah, so I think, in a lot of ways, even with all the success that the team has had, with Ryan, even James before that, the team has had a strong history, but it's really like a young program still. I think the first season was 2012. So they've just hit the 10-year mark as a program. So in many ways, they have a history of success, but it's still a new developing program in a lot of ways as well. So I think we want to continue the growth of where it's been, continue to build on the past and the success that the program has had, whether that's conference tournaments, back with NAI times, going to the national tournament, and lean on those traditions of success, but then build on them as well. And I think it's somewhere, and I think you see it with our team, especially this year, it's somewhere that you can see we can draw people in. It's, a lot of PNW is a regional campus with a lot of local or Midwest students in general, to where when you look at our team, it's a pretty diverse group with guys from, across the U.S., but even across the world with the international students. So I think it's somewhere where we want to put us on the map and say, hey, if I want to go somewhere, have a really good experience, get a great degree, and also play at a really high level and compete in our conference, compete nationally, PNW is a place I can do that.
Is that your recruiting pitch to people, whether they be from Australia or Arlington Heights?
Yeah. We tell them, I'm pretty straightforward in my goals. I tell them what I want to do, what I want to achieve, where I want to take the team. One thing I always tell them is if I got to the national tournament final and lost, I want to be happy. So in my opinion, a goal is to win a national championship. And one thing I tell them is if you're not brave enough to say that, you're never going to do it. So I'm pretty straightforward with the guys is, hey, this is where we want to take the team. This is where we want to go, but that means from your side of things, that's the buy-in you need, that's the discipline you need, that's the goals you need as well, or else it won't be a good fit. And that's okay if it's not, but I want to be straightforward with that, with the recruiting process as well, so they know, hey, if I'm coming here, this is what we want to do.
Coach, appreciate the time. Thanks for it and for getting to know you a little bit better, and best of luck. As you said, some big games coming up next couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, huge games, so we'll see how we do, take it one game at a time, and hopefully we can keep going.
Awesome. That's Luke Dunn, the first-year head coach of PNW men's soccer. He has a ton of games still coming up, or at least a couple of big ones, right? And all the home ones will be right here on WJLB and JEDTV. So make sure you tune in. Coach, again, best of luck. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much.